Hello and welcome to Travelin Young. Look at this, we're recording a video.
And Brisket's here.
You may be able to, I don't know if you're going to be able to see him well. He's really sat here next to us. And what we want to talk about today is, I'm going to let you say it because people complain about how I say.
Roskilde Festival.
Roskilde Festival, yes, because we went for a day and we want to talk to you about our experience, all about the volunteering and the history of the whole festival. It's pretty amazing, and that's what we're going to cover on this week's Travelin' Young. Hey, we are off to our one-day, first time ever
Roskilde Festival.
Yes,
Very excited.
Sorry about our very need to still be organized carport. Ignore that. Let's block that a little bit. No, I'm blocking it. You're getting out of the way. All right, so we're off. We're going to try to chronicle this for a video that you will hopefully be watching at some point.
Hopefully we're not too old for this experience. But
Yeah,
we've
we'll
been
see.
told we're not.
We've been told all ages.
All ages.
And it
see how we do.
Promises to be a beautiful day. Danish weather.
At least it's not hot.
All right, so off we go. The first step is we're going to try to drive to Tastrup and park there to take the train.
Yes.
If that doesn't work, we'll find a different parking place.
We will, where there's a will, there's a way.
But I'm not parking all the way to the festival, but we thought we'd get part of the way there to reduce the train travel at 2 a.m.
We're going to try.
We'll see. Miranda.
Hey.
So we kind of spared you from all the bus and train rides. But we went to Tastrup, took a bus, then a couple buses. I'm sorry, took a train, then a couple buses. Now we're here and show your wristband.
I've got my wristband.
We've got a wristband. And the Danish weather has arrived. So we're off to the entrance to start this experience and journey in the afternoon and see how long we can make it.
We can do it. We can do it.
We're
young.
Hey, we got alcohol.
We got alcohol.
Cheers. Elderflower.
Yes, and this is Solbel, Rubel, not sure. Very tasty.
So we just had a tour, which we'll have probably talked about. So maybe we won't say anything here.
We won't.
We'll probably be talking about this on the couch.
But thank you to everybody who talked to us and walked us around. It was an amazing experience, and I'm already ready to volunteer.
It was super cool. So we're in the volunteer village at the moment, as you can see from this sign, because
this will be us next year, right? Both of
perhaps, but we're fortunate enough to which we would have probably already said at this point, but to come in and be able to experience the volunteer area and all the behind the scenes. And now we're here ready to see some
party
music and party and
have a good day.
So far so good.
Yes.
Once upon a time, there was no volunteer village.
See?
That time is not now. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey Miranda.
Hello.
We're sitting in the Vega bar, which has Vega lights back there. Vega lights in the backstage village, because we have backstage village access. And it's nice because if you look out there, it's Denmark outside.
Listen, it wouldn't be a festival without rain, would it?
No.
No.
So we've gotten to see some music.
Yep.
We've gotten to see some rain.
Yep.
We've gotten to see backstage stuff.
We're going to see more music.
More music.
Yep.
Hopefully less rain.
We'll see.
And
no promises.
Some stormy elderflower drink.
I had a White Russian, but I finished it.
It's all right now. It's a empty.
It's an empty White Russian now.
Alrighty, well let's look at this beautiful Danish weather today. All right, the Roskilde Festival. And it was such an amazing experience. And to start this, we have to thank Tina, who is one of our viewers, and she's a volunteer. And months ago, she contacted and asked if we would like to use one of her volunteer tickets that she's provided, and we said, of course. And she was kind enough to sponsor us to be able to go. So thank you. Now, nobody from the festival really is involved in this video, but we do want to disclose that Tina let us have one of her two to let us get in for the day.
So wonderful.
We'll talk about her and the things that she does as a volunteer there in a minute. But first, for those that don't know what the festival is, we should touch on that. I can't imagine you not knowing, but just in case.
Well, for who watch, they
That's
may
true.
not
They may not know.
They
And
may not. I didn't know about Roskilde until I came here, to be honest.
Let's talk about the fact that I did know. And that's because I, in the U.S., worked for some Danes. And some of them would travel every summer to go back to the festival. I'm like, well, that's...
Who knew?
Crazy. What's that about? And so they told me about it. And it's been around since 1971.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing because, the 50th anniversary would have been in the middle of the pandemic. And that was a big disappointment that they couldn't have the real big 50th year party that they wanted to. But everybody still celebrates and has a good time. But 1971 is when it started. And there's approximately 135,000 people or attendees over the course of the 4 days of music. But there's actually a whole bunch of other things that happened before because people stay for like the whole week. So in my case, the music days are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But like the Saturday before, maybe, or the Sunday before, I was getting like messages on our like group WhatsApp at work with people with pictures with their band on. People go and spend the whole week even before the music's there. Yeah. And it was interesting. Tina told us that there are some people that maybe see one music act and spend the whole week because it's about a community and this experience that they've had their whole lives with their friends. And my friend...
just as much about that as it is about the music.
Yeah, and my colleague at work who posted the armband photo said he thinks he went to 2 he can barely remember. So he was there for other reasons. So it is...
There to party.
Yeah, and to let you know the caliber of music that comes in. So there's like, I don't know, now I feel bad because I don't remember this number, but I'm going to say 6 or 7 or more stages. There's the huge stage, and we'll talk about some of the acts on the huge stage. This year, Lizzo, who we saw, Kendrick Lamar was there earlier, but in the past, there's been like the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Foo Fighters.
And do you remember the fun fact about that big stage?
That it was gifted by Rolling Stone.
The tent, the orange tent, was a gift from Rolling Stones.
Yeah, all the logos are this orange tent, and it's gifted by the Rolling Stone. It's kind of interesting, by the way, now I feel like I'm skipping ahead, but you made me think of it. It's orange, and they have this thing called the orange feeling, which is how everybody's jazzed. Immediately after, it turns into a blue feeling because it's over. And the festival seems to like temporarily change their logos to be the tint, but in blue instead of orange because everybody's got a blue feeling after it ends.
Sad.
But so many Prince has been there.
That's amazing. And I feel bad that I had never heard of it before because it is such a big deal.
Yeah, I think. My feeling is the size of Denmark makes it so that so many people can come from Denmark and it becomes a national experience in a way. Whereas in the U.S., there's like these Coachella and things, which actually aren't, I don't think, as old, or at least haven't been as famous for as long as this has. And they're very regional. Like, I don't know people that went to music festivals growing up. So the idea to even care about a festival like this. This is like generations of people go that have gone for many years and then later go, with their families and kids. And
I think the only thing I could think of would maybe be Lollapalooza because that's been going on since the 90s.
Yeah,
so
but that doesn't.
Long,
but that doesn't have camping and all that stuff. That's like in the middle of Chicago.
You just show up. So
it's not the same kind of experience at all. Sorry, there might be a motorcycle sound in the background.
It's warm.
But it's just And so what's interesting about it is for that period, it becomes the 4th biggest city in Denmark. There's a train station that's normally not there that's basically temporarily put up to get people from the festival grounds all the way down to downtown Roskilde, or actually goes all the way to Copenhagen. And so there's this whole...
logistical system behind Roskilde.
Because it's like a new city that's built up with like shops and stores and people live there legit for a week. Yeah.
Well, and you need all the services to support all of that. So.
Yeah. And so a couple notes. We went for just one day on Saturday and saw Lizzo. We also saw Angelique Kidjo on one stage. We saw this band Tutard, which wasn't a band, I guess. It was like it
was a duo. It was fascinating. It was Syrian techno disco music. It was really good.
And we roamed around everywhere and walked around to see everything that we possibly could.
Lots of different.
But so my impressions, by the way, of the festival, there's so much food. Lots of food options.
A lot of food.
Lots of music options everywhere you turn. You hear like some metal band coming over here, and then you hear Angelique Kidjo, which is like a she's like an African artist that has like this
yeah,
kind of
she's
like
really good.
It's super
it's hard to
great.
describe what kind of music she does.
But we saw her many years ago, and we were excited to see her. So it's nice that there's this like diverse set of music there, whereas a lot of festivals are often kind of targeted towards a specific genre, or maybe a day would be about a genre. So maybe a bunch of people who like a certain type of music would go one day and see a bunch of their stuff. So this was just like so neat.
I thought one thing that was funny was like the very last evening we were walking towards Lizzo and we passed by like a death metal tent on one side and then techno electronica on the next one. And then we were headed towards Lizzo, who's very pop, you know, kind of R&B.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty
many.
easy. All your ears are hearing everything from different directions. But also everybody was nice and polite. I will say I saw a few interests. Of course, I saw somebody throwing up. I saw at least one, and I think you saw another woman just completely pee in a tree.
Hey, sometimes you gotta go.
They had an extensive supply of places for men to go to the bathroom. Like things on trees and like random things on walls and stuff. Not so much for women. And they just,
equal opportunities.
And I would say that there was actually a pretty decent mix. I don't think it was like, I don't know the exact breakdown of male to female, but I felt like it was a pretty healthy.
I think it was pretty equal, honestly. Yeah.
So we saw all the typical things you'd see in a festival for sure. And we were just there for one day. Actually, not like from 3:00 to midnight or something. But one of the highlights we've got now, that's all the music stuff, the festival stuff. I would say it was a great experience. I'm super glad we went. But let's now talk about the second part, which is Tina gave us a backstage kind of tour of all of the volunteer stuff that happens.
Yeah, the operations.
I'll say 30,000 volunteers unpaid helped to make this happen. And they stand up. There's like police and like a temporary hospital. I mean, they can do all kinds of things on site if they need to. And why don't you talk about this like whole area that she took us to where we got to see where the emergency services that are constantly monitoring the safety of the festival.
Because this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I worked in nonprofit charitable organizations back in the States, and Roskilde is actually a nonprofit organization. So all of the money that they make actually gets put back into the community in different programs.
Basically, at the end of the year, they take all of the profit that they made. They like close out the business and then they give it all away. And when they give it away, it's like a lot of very humanitarian things, very specific like social humanitarian causes.
In Africa and stuff.
But
that was an interesting thing in terms of nonprofits that I didn't realize that they would do. They actually fully shut down the whole business and then restart a new business the very next day, basically. But it is cool that they then account for all of that money that they make a profit off of. And she was telling us some of the different organizations that they give it to. So
yeah, it was very, very impressive. I mean, and like to know that when you're buying a ticket and buying beer or food there, like part of that is going to actually go to a positive cause, which is also super nice. It's not just the amazing music and festival experience. It's also some positive cause along the way.
And that was what drew me to volunteering even more, because having worked for charitable organizations for so long in the past, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that that's actually what Roskilde did. And that's amazing. So I'd love to be involved. But like Josh was saying, they have over 100,000 people coming to visit. And when you have that many people, there's a lot of things that you need to think about. There's people who might have, anxiety attacks. They may have some kind of psychological problem that they need help with. They may break a leg. They may, unfortunately, overdose, because there are, people do drugs at festivals.
Yeah, when you're in campsites.
Yeah, I mean, people could have a heart attack. People could have a heat stroke, any kind of thing. And you also have to be very mindful of the fact that sometimes the crowds can get kind of out of hand. So that's another thing that they keep an eye on, is making sure that there's not crush situations happening, because there was unfortunately something a couple years ago where some people unfortunately died. And so it's very top of mind, and I'm very impressed.
For the crush thing, by the way, it was neat that she talked about how these barriers can actually, if they detect too much pressure, they can flip down to prevent people. So there's like all these I guess like covert things that are there to help make you safe, that if everything's fine, you never realize is there. But they're constantly keeping track of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's now like known as one of the safest festivals in the world because of all these things.
And you could, send in, on the app, if you need help, you could send in an email. They were getting communications from people in the crowd, somehow that somebody needed help with something, and so they could send somebody out to help. But it was just amazing how much work goes into this, and these people dedicate so much of their time throughout the year planning for these things, making sure that everything is ready for everybody and that everybody has an amazing time and everybody is safe and has access to all the support that they need.
And so we got to go into this room where we saw basically all the monitors that were tracking cameras of all the stages to make sure everything was safe.
Yeah.
And then we got to see basically the mini police station, fire station, medical station, and all these people all ready at all times to make sure everybody's okay. And it's really impressive because you don't really, if everything, generally, in anything, actually, even in tech, we'll say, if everything goes well, you don't realize the mechanics that are there to make it work. Mm-hmm. So that's a case of my job, of course. If everything's working, you don't realize the effort that goes into it. And that's the case here. You don't realize the whole behind the scenes in order to make sure your experience is positive and everybody's also trained to have like a positive interaction. Yeah. So if somebody from the police needs to talk to somebody, it's not like accusatory. It's more like helpful and positive. And like it's all an impressive system. And when everything's good, you don't even know that this system is there. And so getting the chance to see it. And obviously, the other thing that's impressive is everybody we talk to behind the scenes is extremely proud of the work they do and the effort they put in.
They take it very seriously.
And so Tina talked a lot to us about things she started actually when she was there, which was, so there's, just like in the streets of Copenhagen, there's people that are collecting pant. Because you have these recycled like cups and stuff that you can get beers and stuff in, and people walk around with bags and collect those in the middle of the festival. And for a period of time, there were even little kids doing this late at night, and so she wanted to get involved to help reduce the amount of kids that were doing this, like in sometimes very packed areas that are unsafe for kids. And that's where she got involved initially in this whole program to reduce the amount of little kids that were doing those things and also help them.
Have essentially babysitting programs. It started out, they would have babysitting programs for the kids. And then over time, I think people just kind of stopped bringing them, which is a good thing because, it could be really dangerous for them.
Yeah, and to think that these kinds of, there's awareness around these issues at a festival helps, I think, make sure that it's like one of the best experiences you can. And I've been to a few festivals, and I will say it felt clean and safe. Everybody was nice, and it was just great. So
it's amazing.
So now we're connected a bit with some of them, and
I totally want to volunteer.
Hopefully next year,
not to get in for free, but because I want to volunteer.
Next year, we hope maybe we can organize a bit more of a behind the scenes. We didn't bring the camera to go behind the scenes that time because we didn't want to be in the way, nor did we want to. We wanted to also have an experience and not be totally tethered to the camera the whole time. So maybe next time though we can kind of go and do some stuff in advance as they set up and everything, because it could be really interesting for you to also see, the amount of space and stuff that goes into pulling off a festival of this magnitude, which is why there's this feeling of blues afterwards, because the family you build in that like week of the festival plus the time leading up to it, all say goodbye. You don't see him again for the next year. I mean, there's planning and things you do, but it's not the same level of kind of engagement. And this even, my friend LP, who you've seen in some random drinking videos, he's volunteered there for years. And he has the same experience. He's there every year. And when I first moved here, I'm like, why are you doing that? Volunteer at a festival? I don't understand.
But it's
like a family, and it's a tradition and something that is just.
I think it's like you're taking care of, something that you love, you're helping to maintain something that you love. So
thank you for helping us get in. I would have paid to get in anyway, by the way. We had tickets to go a couple years ago, and we couldn't because of COVID. It got canceled, so we didn't get to go. But and we will see. I mean, I think it'd be great if we can go next year. There you go. That's our quick little overview of the Festival of Festivals.
This is so good.
Puts Denmark on the map of festivals, I would say. It's the Mac Daddy of them all. No offense to the other festivals, but this is like an amazing, unique thing. So that is it for this week's Traveling Young and our little festival. I hope you went. If you did, tell us what your favorite act was in the comments. If you didn't, tell us what festival you are going to go to, because I'm sure you will go to one.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye.